Welcome back, Chem 107 students. This is our last video in Chapter 1. So, elements. Each element has a unique name, symbol, and number. So, carbon, for example, is a C. C for carbon. C is the symbol. The name is carbon, and the number comes from the periodic table. So, you have a periodic table to print out for Chem 107. It's a little different from this one. But carbon, you can see the C has the number 6 above it. That's its number, 6. And we'll talk about what that number means in a different chapter. Now, we capitalize the first letter of an element symbol. Hydrogen is a capital H. Carbon is a capital C. So the first letter is a capital in the symbol. If there's a second letter, it has to be lowercase. Helium is a capital H with a lowercase e. Calcium is a capital C with a lowercase a because C is already carbon, so calcium has to be something else. And then cobalt is a capital C with a lowercase o. Now be careful. A capital C, capital O is carbon monoxide, not cobalt. So it is important that that second letter is lowercase. All right. Most of the symbols come from English names, which is lucky for us. This is an English-speaking class. Hydrogen is H, oxygen is O, helium is He, carbon is C, and so forth. However, there are some that come from Latin names, and they're a little weird. Lead is not L. It's PB, which stands for plum bum, meaning waterworks, because it's used in pipes, the waterworks. Gold is AU, not a G. AU for the Latin aurum, which means golden dawn. Gold, AU. Those are from Latin names. Now, you should be familiar with the names and symbols of the first 20 elements of the periodic table, but you don't have to memorize them. The reason is, if you look at your periodic table for Chem 107, it actually has the names on there. So you don't need to memorize them, but it is going to save you some time if you don't have to look up every element. So if you can remember C is carbon and H is hydrogen, that'll help you so you don't have to look them up every time. Some others I'll be mentioning. Ag is silver, Au is gold, Pb is lead, Br is bromine, I is iodine, and Hg is mercury. So you may see those as well. All right, the physical states of the elements. We need to know this. Physical states means solid, liquid, or gas. For the whole periodic table, at normal room temperature and pressure, so 25 degrees Celsius and typical 1 atmosphere pressure. So we're going to learn whether everything here is a solid, liquid, or gas. So out of all the elements in the table, all of them, there's only 2 liquids, mercury and bromine. Yes, you need to remember this. Out of all the elements in the periodic table, only mercury and bromine are liquids. Now, there's a few gases. We're going to remember them as well. Starting in the corner, hydrogen is a gas. Go over here to N. Nitrogen's a gas. Next to it, O. Oxygen's a gas. Next to it, F. Fluorine's a gas. Go down one, chlorine's a gas. Then the last column, all of them are gases because the last column is called noble gases. So those are your gases. So what's everything else? Everything else is a solid. Don't memorize that. So memorize your 2 liquids, your few gases, and then if it's not one of those, it must be a solid. Here's a color-coded periodic table. So in case you couldn't follow along on the previous slide, yellow is the gases. Pink are the 2 liquids. Blue is everything else, solid. Look for the pink ones. We got bromine right here, and then right over there is mercury, Hg. Okay, and everything in blue is a solid. Yes, you need to remember this. This comes up more than you think, and I do ask it a lot. So remember which ones are the liquids, the gases, and then everything else is a solid. Okay, There are 7 diatomic elements. Diatomic means 2 atoms bonded together. Di for 2. Diatom, 2 atoms. 2 atoms bonded together. So out of all of our elements, 7 of them like to buddy up. So in other words, they don't like to be alone as atoms. They like to be bonded with 2 atoms together. So a way to remember your 7 diatomic elements is the silly thing, have no fear of ice cold beer. Have no fear of ice cold beer. Have H, hydrogen. Hydrogen gets a 2, H2, it's diatomic. It looks like this in the picture, 2 atoms bonded together. Have no, N, nitrogen gets a 2, N2, it's 2 atoms bonded together. Have no fear, F, for fluorine, F gets a 2. Have no fear of, O, oxygen, oxygen gets a 2. Have no fear of ice, I2 is diatomic, iodine. Have no fear of ice cold for Cl, not carbon, but chlorine. Chlorine is a diatomic gas. Cl gets a 2. And the last one, beer, Br, bromine, gets a 2. Now remember, bromine is a liquid, so it gets an L after it in parentheses. So Br2 parentheses L means bromine liquid, and it's diatomic. Iodine was not a gas or a liquid, so it's a solid. So I2 gets an S after it in parentheses. It's a solid. The others are gases. Hydrogen, nitrogen, fluorine, oxygen, and chlorine are gases. So they get a G in parentheses behind them. So we need to remember our diatomic elements, and we need to remember which ones are solid, liquid, and gas. It's important. Chemical formulas. Chemical formulas tell us how many atoms are in a molecule. You already know the formula for water. What's water? H2O, right? H2O. So that's a formula. Here's another formula, CO2. That means 1 carbon. We don't have to put the 1 there. O2, 2 oxygens. So 1 carbon plus 2 oxygen makes 3 atoms. K2S means 2K, that's potassium, atoms, and 1 S for sulfur atoms. 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 atoms. How many atoms are in Na2SO4? I hope you said 7. Na has 2 atoms, S is a 1. Again, we don't have to write the 1 there. It's understood it's a 1. And O is 4. 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 4 is 7. 7 atoms in Na2SO4. How about how many atoms are in C6H12O6? So that would be 6 plus 6 is 12, plus another 12 is 24. So 24 atoms are in C6H12O6. How many atoms are in these molecules? C2H6. Well, 2 plus 6 is 8, yeah. CH is a hydrocarbon, by the way. Hydrocarbon means a molecule made up of hydrogen and carbon only. Hydrocarbon. So C's and H's. How many atoms are in NH3? 1 plus 3 is 4. Yeah, there's 4 atoms in NH3. How many atoms are in NO2, nitrogen dioxide, one of our main pollutants? 3, right? 1 N and 2 O's make 3 atoms. And the last one is HCN. That means 1 plus 1 plus 1, so 3. 3 atoms in HCN. There's 1 hydrogen, 1 carbon, and 1 nitrogen. All right, last slide. Let's go back to ozone, one of our main pollutants. How is it made? We said you have to have cars and sun. So ozone forms when we have VOCs, volatile organic compounds, and NO2, which comes from cars. And they interact in the sunlight. So VOCs also come from cars. They also come from paint. Have you ever gone in a room and it smells like you can smell the paint? That's because the paint has volatile organic compounds in it. And that can be a bad thing. If you ever bought paint lately, it'll say low VOC, and that's much safer, especially in a baby's room. You don't want those fumes interfering with a baby's breathing. So it's important to use low VOC paint in a baby or small child's room. Anyway, we have these volatile organic compounds coming from cars. We have nitrogen dioxide coming from cars. They interact with sunlight, and boom, we make ozone, O3. And that's bad for us because it interferes with our breathing and causes lung problems. So again, lots of cars, lots of sun, make lots of ozone, which is not good. And that's it for chapter 1, Chem 107. Good job. We finished our first chapter. Stay with me. You have some other things to do now. Make sure you do your sustainability item. And you have a quiz now over chapter 1 as well, a little quiz. So good luck. I guess I'll see you for chapter 2 next. Bye-bye.